Intamin Amusement Rides is my favorite roller coaster manufacturer. They are responsible for designing and constructing some of the most impressive rides in the world, including 16 coasters in my overall top 35 favorites. To put that into perspective, I have ridden 791 roller coasters total, and for Intamin to have been responsible for nearly half of my top 35 is crazy. Now, I mentioned 16, and since this is a top 15 list, the ride that just barely missed the cut is Red Force at Ferrari Land in Spain. It's an adrenaline rush unlike anything else in Europe, and I really wish I could have made room for it. Another honorable mention I want to throw out there is a coincidentally similar ride, and that's Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point in Ohio. For the longest time, this was one of my favorite coasters in the world, and had I ranked it amongst the other Intamins on this list, it would have made the top 5, maybe top 3. It closed permanently a few years back and is now being converted to a Zamperla triple launch coaster that in my opinion looks a fraction as good. I think it'll be fun for what it is, but a shell of the original considering the 120 mph hydraulic launch was my favorite launch on any roller coaster. But now let's direct our attention to the 15 best operating Intamin coasters I've ridden. Starting things off, we've got Hagrids Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Islands of Adventure. This is by far the tamest ride on this list, with it being the lone family coaster among a sea of high-intensity scream machines. But where it lacks in thrills, it makes up for in theming and storytelling. When this opened in 2019, it was the most expensive roller coaster ever built, costing a total of $300 million to build. And I believe it, because the amount of unique elements and surprises Hagrids packs in is truly remarkable. Number 14, Millennium Forest at Cedar Point in Ohio. Here's a ride with nothing in common with Hagrids, and the fact that Intamin is capable of building such different attractions is one of the reasons why they're my favorite coaster company. This was the world's first Giga coaster when it opened in the year 2000, meaning it sits at a height greater than 300 feet tall but lower than 400 feet tall. Even though other, more modern Giga coasters have since been built, Millennium Forest has an almost unparalleled sense of speed and a super long layout with almost 7,000 feet of track. Number 13, Expedition GeForce at Holiday Park in Germany. In many ways, this European mega coaster is sort of like a refined Millennium Force. It's noticeably shorter at just 173 feet tall, but the layout has far more powerful airtime with a similar focus on speed and pacing. Another benefit is the setting, as the trees and foliage around you make you feel like you're going faster than you actually are. For all these reasons and more, Expedition GeForce is one of the best roller coasters in Germany, if not all of Europe. But let's go a step further and take a look at a modernized GeForce, because number 12 is Hyperion at Energylandia in Poland. This was a shocking experience when I first rode, because I was not expecting a top-level coaster out of Hyperion. It has such a diverse layout with out-and-back camelbacks in the first half and a mess of track twister section in the second half. But there's also a few unordinary elements that help differentiate Hyperion from other mega coasters, like its stangle dives and its single inversion. It's a very intense, spectacular coaster, and really an indicator that Intamin is the best if this is down at number 12. Number 11, Maverick at Cedar Point in Ohio. This was the first of Intamin's multi-launch coasters, or as it was previously known, the Blitz coaster. Maverick contains two very different LSM launches, but that's really only the beginning. At 105 feet tall, this thing manages to pack in an exceptional beyond vertical drop, moments of powerful airtime, 2 inversions, whippy transitions, and the list goes on. It's one of the most important rides ever built by the company, and I think it'll become abundantly obvious as to why when we proceed with the list. Number 10, Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia. I can't stress enough how wrong it feels to have rides like this so low. Pantheon may be my number 10 Intamin nowadays, but when I first rode it in 2022, it was also like my number 10 overall coaster. It has 4 great launches, including a section split by a bunny hill, and this gives some absurd airtime forwards and backwards. The rest of the ride is great too, with a strong variety of forces ranging from positives, airtime, and even hang time. It's got everything I'm looking for in a roller coaster with the exception of one thing, theming, which Tautis at Parc Asterix in France excels at. My unpopular opinion is if you strip this ride away from its theming, I actually think Pantheon's layout would be a bit stronger. That's mainly because they put this trim on the drop that absolutely kills any airtime you get on it. But everything else Intamin did here was perfect, down to the last minute details. It's got the same swing launch as Pantheon, but a very different sequence of elements after the drop that is virtually just as good. And once again, let me shout out the theming because this is one of the greatest examples I've ever seen on a roller coaster. Number 8, Tiga at Linnanmäki in Finland. Every Intamin on this list has a quality it particularly excels in, and for Tiga, it's how they were able to build a layout this fun and varied around a small, steep hillside. Intamin was able to pack in so much ride, and as I said, the diversity in forces and elements here is impeccable. It's got the typical great launches, along with 4 world-class inversions, sharp airtime pops, and overall great pacing. This makes Tiga the best coaster in any of the Nordic countries, which is saying a lot because there are many great options in that region of Europe. Before we continue, if you've been enjoying the video and want to support what I do, head on over to the new merchandise store I set up where you can pick up a Coaster Dash t-shirt, hoodie, or something else that may pique your interest. Thanks for the support, and let's get back into the list with number 7, Conda at Walibi Belgium. You know what else I love about Intamin? They're great at delivering a standout attraction to parks that were previously lacking in one. Walibi Belgium had a massive gap in their lineup prior to 2021, and Conda couldn't have been a more perfect fit for them. It's my favorite of the company's modern mega coaster model, as it's basically a perfect ride. The only thing I'd change is the lack of whip on the non-inverting Cobra roll, but that's where we're really getting nitpicky. Everything else here is phenomenal, and I really mean that. But from here, the rest of the rides in my list make up some of my top 15 coasters I've ever been on, which made it extremely difficult to rank. They're all very close in quality, but at number 6 is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. This is the only Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster on this list of the 4 that exist around the world. There is one I haven't ridden in South Korea that looks like it could be even better, but currently El Toro is my favorite and it's not even close. The first few elements on this ride are absolutely peak, from the first drop through until the end of the 2 camelbacks. As is the end of the ride, which I find super underrated between the rolling Thunder Hill and the fast-paced switchbacks. I do find the middle to be a bit lackluster, but it isn't enough to keep El Toro out of the top 3 wooden coasters in the world. Number 5, Batman Gotham City Escape at Parque Warner Madrid. I mentioned Intamin was good at filling holes in parks where they're missing a top-level coaster, and I don't think they've ever done a better job than here at Parque Warner Madrid in Spain. This incredibly well-themed experience tells a story and delivers on every front. The layout's got every type of force you could ever ask for, and there's really no complaint I can give to Batman. Yet there's still 4 coasters I rank higher, and I think this next one is going to piss a lot of people off, but it is in my opinion one of the greatest coaster experiences out there. Number 4 is King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. That means yes, this is my favorite coaster at this park now, and yes, I'd take the short 20-something seconds a ride over the full package that is Batman Gotham City Escape. Let me start off by saying, after the closure of Top Thrill Dragster, the launch on King Dakar is my favorite element on any roller coaster when you're sitting in the front row. But that's not even to mention the tallest element on any coaster on Earth, the 456-foot top hat, which is equally thrilling and terrifying. I also love that you get another moment at the bottom of the drop to appreciate that one-of-a-kind sense of speed that can't be replicated on any other ride in the country. I understand why some might not even remotely agree with my take on this one, but it's how I feel and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. At number 3 is Skyrush at Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. This is another divisive one coming off of my extremely unpopular opinion of King Dakar. But I've loved this ride since 2018 and I will continue to love it moving into the future. Skyrush packs in one of, if not the greatest first drop I've experienced, as well as powerful sustained ejector airtime hills and moments of laterals that feel like they're going to snap your body in half. This ride wants to get rid of you, and that great portrayal of power is something so rare on a roller coaster. As you'll see later though, there's another ride that takes things even further, but first let's take a breather for Veloci Coaster at Islands of Adventure in Florida. I don't say that because Veloci Coaster isn't intense, but because it isn't anywhere near as crazy as some of these other rides. Instead, it relies on having a fully encompassing story and being a full package experience, even more so than Batman at Park Warner. The theming on here I think is the best on any roller coaster in the world, and the layout is just as impressive. I adore how different the first and second halves are because it really builds you up over time. The most thrilling parts of Veloci Coaster though are definitely one of my favorite sequences of elements out there, especially with that roll at the end, which is the single best inversion in the world. So what could be number 1? It's Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion in Virginia. Talk about a ride that doesn't even feel real. The things you feel while riding Intimidator 305 are almost so extreme you question if it's safe. Now, of course it is, but that demonstrates just how insane this ride actually is. It keeps its speed better than any other coaster out there and utilizes this to its full advantage by rocketing through heavily banked turns and abrupt transitions. I believe it's the most intense roller coaster ever built, which is why it took the number 1 spot on this list. But I understand your taste could be entirely different from mine, so let me know down in the comments how you rank your favorite Intamin coasters. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Coaster Dash so you don't miss any content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.